What is the best size 2 weapon in Star Citizen? Let's find out right now. Whether you like cannons, repeaters, scatterguns or distortion weapons, we're testing them all. I'll be using a Reliant Tana with 2 Toshima turrets, allowing us to use a total of 6 size 2 weapons, which is awesome. Starting with the Dominance II laser scattergun from Hurston Dynamics with a burst DPS of 660 and max alpha damage of 792, it's definitely not something you want to get close to. It's great for downing shields, if not the fastest overall on the Tana. 6 of these absolutely dominate. Your only other option for ship shotguns is the Hellion ballistic scattergun, which does 560 burst DPS and max alpha damage. Even though it does slightly less damage than the Dominance II, it has a slightly faster rate of fire and uses a fraction of the power. Great guns overall, if you're good at sticking to your targets. Now, if you want to shut down or disrupt the enemy's power, making them fall from the sky or board them, you have 2 options. First, which is the Suckerpunch-L laser cannon, which does a burst DPS of 203 and max alpha damage of 122. Of course, any distortion weapons work best when paired with other laser or ballistic weapon types, because on its own, the Suckerpunch-L is just terrible. Your other option is the DR Model XJ2 distortion repeater, which does 257 burst DPS and only 38 max alpha damage. Needless to say, these aren't very effective on their own, though they do look great. If you can pair it with something that can down shields fast, like a scattergun, you can shut down enemy ships in record time using these. Now, for my favorite weapon types, cannons. Starting with the most common laser cannon you're sure to have seen on plenty of newly purchased ships as a stock weapon, the M4A. It does 456 burst DPS with a max alpha damage of 273, which isn't too bad at all. It's slow firing, and even though it does a good job for PvE, it's a terrible choice for PvP. What would be a better choice than the M4A is the Omnisky VI laser cannon, which has 365 burst DPS and 146 max alpha damage. It also has a 50% higher rate of fire and 40% faster projectile speed, so it makes for a great upgrade. I've always liked the Omnisky laser cannons, they're pretty neat. If you really want to try your hand at PvP using size 2 laser cannons, give the FL22 a go. It fires much faster than the Omnisky VI and has a 75% faster projectile speed. Even though it only does 308 burst DPS and 74 max alpha damage, you're much more likely to land your shots on smaller targets and kill them before they can escape. The FL22 laser cannon looks great on any ship, but the slow reload speed is what really holds it back, especially against tougher opponents. Another weapon with identical stats to the FL22, apart from a slightly lower HP pool, is the Lightstrike II. This really is your only other option for PvP laser cannons, and I've got to say, the more I use the Lightstrike II, the more I enjoy them. Though as things currently stand in Star Citizen's patch 4.6, there's really no reason not to pick the Lightstrike II over the FL22, unless it's purely from a visual standpoint. Now for ballistics, first up, we have the popular Deadbolt II ballistic cannons. One gun you're sure to have seen being mentioned in global chat quite a bit, and for good reason. The Deadbolt II does 506 burst DPS and has a max alpha damage of 303, so needless to say, it punches hard. There is a major downside though. and that's the fact that it has one of the slowest projectile speeds overall, at just 900 meters per second. An absolute no-go for PvP, but great for PvE and slow-moving targets. Then a cannon that actually looks the part, the Tarantula GT-870 Mk. These only do 203 burst DPS with 61 max alpha damage, but have double the fire rate of the Deadbolts. And even though the Tarantula projectiles travel almost 2 times faster than the latter, they are just slightly less accurate and have less ammo. It's still a better choice if you ask me. Though what's even better than the Tarantula GT-870 Mk is the 10 series Greatsword ballistic cannons. It has the same burst DPS of 304 but lower max alpha damage of only 73. So why is it better? Well, it has a 20% faster rate of fire and carries plenty more ammo. So you'll get a lot more value out of it since more shots will ignore shields too. I reckon these are my favorite cannons overall for patch 4.6. Of course, we're yet to talk about the 2 Mass Driver cannons, so let's do that now. The Sledge II Mass Driver ballistic cannon does 150 burst DPS and a whopping 525 max alpha damage. It has a projectile speed of 3000 meters per second and carries 105 shots in total. It is very slow firing and requires you to be within 1.2 kilometers of your target, so it's not ideal. A much better choice than the Sledge II is the Strife Mass Driver ballistic cannon, which does the same burst DPS of 150 and max alpha damage of 525, but has a 5000 meters per second projectile speed and can hit targets from up to 5.5 kilometers away. A true sniper that rarely misses. It only carries 84 rounds of ammo, but the Strife is also twice as accurate as the Sledge II. So better in nearly every way. Moving on to the Star Citizen universe's favorite weapon of choice, repeaters. When it comes to choosing the best size 2 weapons in Star Citizen, CIG gave us limited options in this class. With only 2 energy and 2 ballistic guns to choose from, let's start with the former. Up first, we have the popular Attrition 2 laser repeaters from Hurston Dynamics, with a very high burst DPS of 582 and max alpha damage of 100. These are the premier choice for PvE players around the verse. The projectile speed of 1000 meters per second is its downfall though, as it just falls flat in PvP against more agile targets. The only other choice for laser repeaters is the most common stock weapon of all, the CF227 Badger. The Badger only has a burst DPS of 328 and 26 max alpha damage, but with an incredibly fast fire rate of 750 rounds per minute and 1.8 kilometer per second projectile speed. It's a decent choice for PvP, though not fantastic due to its small size. Next up, we have the SW16BR2 Sawbuck ballistic repeater with a burst DPS of 450 and max alpha damage of 54. They're pretty decent for PvE. Even though the Sawbuck has a decent fire rate of 500 rounds per minute, the speed of the projectiles is too slow to be effective as a PvP weapon. They are super fun to use though, so there's that. If you'd like to try your hand at PvP, the only repeater type weapon you should be using is the Scorpion GT-215 ballistic Gatling gun. It has a burst DPS of 339, and even though it only has a max alpha damage of 13, it is incredibly fast firing and has 4410 rounds of ammo. It can spit out 1,600 rounds per minute with bullets that travel at a velocity of 1,600 meters per second. So you can literally melt any small fighter within seconds. Now, we've talked about which size 2 weapons are best in each class. I'd like to know which ones are your favorite to use. Be sure to check out this next video and please share this if you found this video helpful at all.